What's up, guys? Ben Knight here from Knight Affordable Housing Solutions. Just wanted to go over some of the electrical that I've been working on this past couple of weeks on and off. Just starting to get through the panel here and things like that. But I want to kind of show you some of the things that I had to work through, and you will as well, as if you're building your own house, doing your own work. It's not rocket science like everything else. You know, this stuff is fairly straightforward. I mean, electrical is obviously very specialized, and you know, there are some dangers with wires and fires and electrocution and things like that. But as long as you respect it, understand it, do a little bit of research, a little bit of homework, watch a few videos. Let me show you here what I've done. I think anybody can do it legally. Anybody is allowed to do their own electrical work for their own house. Obviously, you can't go, doing it for customers and charging money without a license. But if it's for your own house, you are allowed to do that, and I encourage you to do a little research and give it a try, because you can save a fair bit of money. So let's go over it here. So first step is to identify where you're going to have any outlets, switches, lights, things of that nature, and then buy all these boxes. You're going to have light's not great in some of these places. I apologize, and I've already done some of this work, but you can see the little circular light box. You'll need to get a bunch of those. You'll need to get some single boxes here for any time you were on any place you want a single outlet or a light switch. You'll need to get some doubles probably, and some triples, and depending on what you want to have happen, kind of lay that all out. This is going to be a triple outlet here. I'm sorry, switch. There's a single switch there. There's a double here. And so you're going to want to figure out, once you have all your rooms kind of laid out and figure out what you want. This is going to be our kitchen in here. It's going to be our sink is going to be here. We're going to have a countertop along this surface, along 3 walls. And so you're just going to want to figure out where, get a bunch of those boxes, get some wire. We had to do kind of a certain outlets require their own circuit by code, and also just because it makes sense, so you're not going to be tripping things. But this one here is going to be a fridge right in here. So that one needed its own circuit. Dishwasher here needed its own circuit, I believe. You're going to want at least one circuit for some outlets on top of your counters, and actually another circuit probably for some other outlets for countertop appliances and things like that, because they tend to draw quite a bit of electricity. So usually, I think the code says you got to have 2 different circuits for appliance outlets. We're actually going to have a microwave. Wait a minute, I got it backwards here. This fridge is over there, so that's got its own outlet. This is going to be the stove, which is actually gas, but it still requires its own outlet for, I think, for the oven. And the microwave above it will require, it's kind of a high draw one, so we made that its own circuit. Some of these you probably could have done on the same circuit, but I just kind of went overkill a little bit. So we just went in first and just nailed these things. All nail in pretty easily. These are the cheap ones. These just it's 1 nail and 2 nails, and they have these little guides on the side to help you keep a 1/2 inch out. So just kind of push it up, kind of hold it like this, keep those tabs up against the framing, hold it, nail it. We're actually going to be doing 3/4 inch shiplap like this. You can see it's going to be a little off, so we've got these little spacers that will help space it out a little bit. But that's a different conversation. So yeah, once you got the boxes all kind of nailed into where you want them on all your rooms, again, check code, things like that. But there's, I think it says something like you have to have an outlet one every 12 feet in rooms, and bathrooms it's 1 every 4 feet. So there's different rules like that. You kind of have to just make sure you follow. But that's pretty simple to do, and it's kind of common sense anyway, because you're going to want as many outlets as possible. We're always looking for things, right? We're always trying to find plugs for different things. But so this is my living room here. I'm going to have one on either side of the couch. Couch is going to be in the center here. So we just kind of got a double and a double. We're going to have our TV up on the wall over here. So I made an outlet specific up high, so I can hide it behind the TV there. You got to kind of figure out where you want switches. Here, for example, this is going to be a deck eventually. And so we're going to have some outside lights, have a triple. So we're going to have outside lights, we're going to have a kitchen light, living room light, and then the stair light for the stairs hallway area here. So we have 3, and 2 of these are going to be 3-way switches, which are a little different. We'll have to go over that too. They require a little different wire, But so basically, so far as the wire goes, you'll need some wire. You need some white wire, which is the Romex 14 gauge, 2 wire plus a ground. You can really see it there. So it's got two. It's got a black and a white wire plus a ground in there. For the 3-way switches, you'll need this 14-3. I don't know if you can see that, but there should be 3 wires in there plus a ground. I can't really see it great in here, but let's see. That's a little better. Yeah, 3 wires plus a ground. Need some of that. And then you'll need yellow wire, which is the 12 gauge. I'm sorry, yeah, 12 gauge. 12-2 plus ground for the outlets. And the way that works, the yellow wire is good for 20 amp. The white wire and the blue wire, which is the 14 gauge, that's good for 15 amps. So you have to match your circuits, your circuit breakers to your wire. So anytime we have a white wire, that's going to run to a 15 amp circuit breaker. Same with the blue, that's all kind of one circuit. And the yellow will run to a 20 amp circuit breaker. And of course, there's more complicated ones we'll need for eventually the dryer, which will be in here. I got my box. It's a special box for the dryer. Can't see it real well, but it's not wired up quite yet anyway. But it's a different kind of box for the dryer plug, because it's a special plug, and that's going to be 10 gauge wire, because that's, I think, a 30 amp breaker we'll need for that. So once you get your boxes all kind of laid out, nailed up, on the heights, there is, I think the code says something between 12 and 16 inches high off the ground, but it's, again, common sense, whatever you're used to. I think we just planned on 16 from the floor to the top of the box. We had 16 inches. It's probably a little higher than maybe some people are used to seeing, but that's what we chose to go with. And same with the outlet, I'm sorry, the switches, we decided to go, I think it was 48 to the bottom of the box, again, which is a little high probably, but that's just kind of how we chose to do it, for simplicity's sake and whatnot. So yeah, once you get your boxes all kind of nailed in there, you want to get the wire and you want to run that. Got to kind of figure out some circuits. So that's kind of a little bit of decisions to make there, and do a little research, find out what makes the most sense for you. What we decided to do was do lighting all on one circuit, because it's all, well, sorry, 3 circuits for lighting. One for first floor, one for second floor, and one for the basement lighting. So those are 3 different circuits for that. All going to be the white wire, 14-2, 14-3 wires, and that'll all be on a 15 amp circuit. So we have 3 different circuits for that. Let me show you here. So I got 3. This is by my panel here. I got three different white wires. This one here, and I labeled them all so you kind of keep track. Second floor lights. This one here is, yeah, first floor lights. You know, I just kind of jerry-rigged my basement lights to a plug, so I could plug it in and actually have a little bit of light down here. I don't have any bulbs, so I can't do these ones yet, but once I do, those will be operational on my switch over here. So yeah, once you get your circuits kind of figured out what you want to do, just a matter of running some wire. So you got to run one wire is going to be your power wire. That's the main wiring, right? It's going to come from where your panel is going to be. You run it through. You got to figure out a path, drill some holes wherever you can. And there are some rules about hole drilling, so make sure you check up on that. As long as it's a small enough hole, I think as long as it's in the middle of the studs or middle of the joist, things like that, keep it away from where you're going to be nailing and screwing sheetrock. But find a path, go along there, the shortest path possible, obviously, as you can, to save the wire. Wire's expensive. So you run the wire all the way to your switch. That's your power coming in from the panel to the switch. And then you want to run another wire. I got a bunch here, so it's a bit of a mess, but in general, it's the simplest form of a light switch is one coming in. You got power coming in, and you got one going out to your lights. So another one going up through into the lights. And then you can daisy chain as many lights as you want from there, but it starts off with, you know, one switch going to one light, and you can again run to multiple lights if you want. Just have one wire coming into the light, and then one white wire coming out of the light. And then as far as hooking up the switch, let me show you how I did that here. Let me just pull this off of here real quick. This one is not live yet. If it was, obviously you want to make sure power was off before doing this. Alright, so inside your box, you're going to have 3 wires coming in from your power and 3 wires going out to your light. And so you're going to want to connect up your white wires together. Just kind of put those 2 together, put a wire nut on it, twist it nice and good, make sure, give it the pull test, make sure it's on there good. Same with your grounds. Put those 2 grounds together. You're going to have to actually put a pigtail, so another little piece of the same size wire, maybe 5-6 inches or something, into that same wire nut with those other 2. Screw it up good, tie it up good, and then come off to your ground wire nut. Right here, your ground screw. So make sure you got that ground going to your ground screw, tighten that up good. And then really the switch is just your black wires, right? This one, I have an extra wire coming in here because it's got power going out to another one, but basically the basic one is just your hot wire from your black wire coming in from your power going to the bottom screw is what I'm not sure if it matters honestly too much, but I use the bottom screw because that's in the off position. That's where power is going to. It only gives power as it goes into the on position. So I would put my power in on the black screw, and then the black going to my light on the top screw. And I think they probably can be reversed. I don't think it matters terribly. What does matter is that if you're going to be doing power out, like I have on this one, if you want to daisy chain to another light circuit, another light switch, you want those 2 to be connected. This is my power coming in, power going out to the next light switch. This again is going to the light itself. So you could also do this, and I think they recommend doing this. I don't like doing it because it's just more work, I think, but they recommend putting these black ones in a wire nut as well, and then running a pigtail to this switch. That kind of just keeps everything out of the light switch, keeps everything separate. And so I think they recommend that. Either way works. This seems to work fine for me. I like this. It's a little less wires, a little less nuts inside the box, and a little less clutter. But that's basically it. When you flip the switch, inside it makes a connection between these wires and provides power through the switch up to your light. And all is well, and it should turn the light on. So as far as the light and wiring itself, let me show you that as well. This off. I just broke it. What the heck? Well, anyway, I'll have to fix that. But so inside here, again, real basic. So you got 2 wires, or two sets of wires, right? One coming in for your power, and that one might be it if it was only just the one light. This one here is daisy chained to a bunch of lights. So this one's going to have, again, power coming in from the switch, and then power going out to the next set of lights. So basically, your white wire goes to the. This is actually live. I just realized. Does that mess up a little bit? Even though I don't have a bulb for it, this one is actually set up on my little makeshift switch I had here. So I'm gonna be a little careful with that. Basically, you got a silver screw. If you can see that there. Silver screw is white, so any white wires, both your white wires coming in from power as well as going out to the next light will go to this one screw. There should be 2 spots on these. And then black wires are going to your gold screw, and your ground screws are getting wire nutted together. And that will provide power not only to this light, but again, the next light in the circuit here. So again, real simple. Put that back together. I'm gonna shut that off, I think, before I put it back together, but don't get zapped again. So that's basically how you wire a light. But really, those are steps you're going to be taking after you do insulation, sheetrock, and things like that. Your lights, your switches, your actual outlets themselves, all that stuff is actually going to be done probably as part of the second phase of electrical wiring. Same as your light circuits, you run one big yellow wire starting at the panel and going down to your first outlet box. So you got one coming in, and then you go to you got another one coming out to your second one, and so on. You kind of daisy chain them all together until you get your whole room done, or 2 rooms, or whatever you want to do. And again, I think it's a little bit subjective, you know, double check code and things like that. What I did was all my basement outlets. That includes like a playroom here, as well as there's going to be a little bedroom over here, and a little kind of miscellaneous room. Has one outlet over there, so we got all these. It's probably, I don't know, there's about 8 or 10 outlets here, all on one circuit, and I'm just calling it the basement outlets circuit. And it all depends on what you're going to be drawing, right? I only have 20 amps to work with, so if you got some real high draw things like heaters or, you know, whatever, you might want to just consider putting 2 separate circuits in to be able to handle that kind of power. What I did up here in my bathroom was I ran a light circuit as part of my whole second floor lights, but then I also daisy chained another wire over to where my fan's going to be. Probably most people have a, you know, fan and light combo kit because of how our rafters and floor joists and things are run. I didn't really want to do it that way because my roof overhang is right there. I didn't really want to go down and didn't really want to cut through my floor joists. I think technically I could have. It's a 3-inch vent, and my floor joists are 10 inches, which is actually around 9 1/4. So I could have gotten away with it because I think the rule is 1/3. But I didn't really want to do that. Instead, I decided to kind of put a little wall vent over here. And so I had to run a separate little, essentially a light box right there for that thing to be able to wire that in, mount that up to the wall. And it's not a real high draw on that either. You can look at all these things. Any appliance you have or anything you're going to be using should say on the back is a pretty basic. For how many watts and things like that, if you don't know it, you can look it up. But I think it's basically, if you know the watts, you can basically figure out the amperage. So if it's a 110 outlet item, and you know it's let's see, like 1,000 watt draw or 1,500 watt draw, which is what a typical space heater goes up to, about 1,500 watts. You divide those two and you get the amps. So 1,500 divided by 110 is like, what, 13 or 14 amps that it draws on high. So you know you need, you know, if you're going to be doing a lot of those or something similar that has a high draw like that, you probably want its own circuit, its own breaker for that, because as you can see with 13 amps being drawn from that, it doesn't leave much else for other things to be on the same circuit with it before it trips. Because if you're talking about a 15 amp circuit or a 20 amp, there's not a heck of a lot left. That's using most of that. And they don't want you to overload it either. They want you to go, I think they said 75 or 80% rule. So if you know you're going to be drawing, you know, 13 amps, you want to use at least a 16 amp breaker. So you kind of round up to 20. Things like that. There's a lot of basic rules out there and little tips and tricks and things that you can find. But let's see. So that was my bathroom. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different, you know, I got like a total of 18 or so circuits between my basement and my first floor and my second floor. I got a few more to do. I'm gonna have to run one separate one for the dryer still. I gotta run a separate one for my mini splits, and I gotta run a separate one for my heaters. I'm gonna have some baseboard electric heaters for a couple of rooms that the mini split won't reach, and so those are a little high draw, a little bit more high draw than the other ones, and require 240 double pole kind of thing. So a little more complicated, but you know, it's all doable. It's all basically the same concept. You just got to do it a little differently. So once you have all your boxes in and all your wires run for all your circuits, you're going to have one wire for every circuit coming down into your basement near your panel somewhere. Hopefully, I got one there. I got 2 there. I got 4 coming out of that hole, and you know, a couple coming out of there. So I got wires coming everywhere. So you're gonna eventually want to kind of just channel those all over here and to where your panel is going to be. Mount your panel. I think the old standard was 100 amp. Now we're looking at 200 amp breaker panels. I think this has 30 slots with a total of 16 possible circuits, because you can double up on these little minis here. You can get 2 per slot. So then the next step is to get the breakers you need, right? The 20 amp breakers for all your yellow circuits, and some 15 amp breakers for your white wire circuits, and then some bigger ones here's the 30 amp double pole that you're going to need for probably the dryer, and I'm still figuring this out myself, but I think I'll need one for the dryer, one for my I'm gonna have 4 baseboard electric heaters. I think I'll need one for that. I'm still doing a little research, and it's, you know, Google's great now, right? You can just pretty much Google anything, and AI kind of comes up with a pretty good response for you. Obviously, double check some of this stuff and find it in a couple different sources is my rule before you trust it. Watch some YouTube videos, things like that. But once you get your box up here situated, kind of where your meter is going to be outside. I haven't done it yet, but this is the front corner of my house. My meter socket's going to be on the outside, right up above here. And so I'll do another video. We want to get that together and figured out. But I'll have to come in through the house, probably up through my rim joist there. It's going to come in, and then probably have to knock out this hole up here. This big one. I'm going to have 3 humongo wires coming down. You know, one there, one there, one there. That'll give power to the panel, 110 and 240. And then I'll have to have my 8-foot long copper ground bars that I'll put out in the ground. I'll actually nail them, hammer them down into the ground as far as I can. Probably, I think I say 8 feet apart, so I think I'll put one on this corner, one on that corner up close to the house. Run a copper wire from those 2, come into my ground bus bar. And these didn't come with it, by the way. This confused me a little bit. I had to kind of figure this out a little bit. But these, so the panel comes with everything except for the breakers and except for the ground bus bars. So you'll have to figure out which ground bus bars to get that go along with your particular panel. Get some of those. Make sure you got enough slots to cover all the different circuits you're going to have. So I think it's a total of 60. I don't think I'm going to use all those, but I got 223, so I should be able to get 23 there and 23 there. And install those. This was a little tricky, and again, I'm still learning this. I'm not a professional, but I had to kind of move this around and figure out where it fit, because there's all these little pre-drilled holes all around throughout, but only certain ones work. And so it took me a little bit to figure it out, but I found where those basically 1, 2, 3 holes that you can put screws through to screw it into the panel. I don't think I only used these 2, because the other one there wasn't actually a screw hole in there, but these other, the top and the bottom one, I was able to find holes that lined up. And there actually is a little symbol that says, can't really see it, it's kind of hiding back there, but somewhere it says ground. But yeah, attach that in, and basically that just provides a way for all your copper wires and your 3 bundle wires to be able to all connect together. Connect to this bus bar, to this bus bar, and then they all get connected to that ground rod outside in case there's any surges or any lightning strikes or things like that. Would go through ground instead of starting a fire possibly, or doing some damage to your house and your appliances and things. And then you have your neutral bus bar here, right here, as well as here. So all your white wires will go there, and then your black wires go into your breaker. And so I was just about maybe halfway through, not even quite, probably halfway through doing that. And I'm sure there's some logic and some preferred ways, and I think a lot of it's probably subjective, but I've heard that you want to put some of your bigger ones up top because there's a high heat dissipation, so you want that up closer to the top versus the bottom. I left these there for when I need them, when I figure those out. I'm not sure entirely how much it matters. I'm just putting this together the best way I know how, and I'm hoping it's right, and we'll see. I guess we'll have it checked out. We'll do some research before we make it live, and we'll be real safe and double checking everything before we connect power to it. But yeah, so basically I started off with just some 20s. I think this is all my outlets. I'm going to put my lights, I think, at the end towards, because they're the smallest draw. And plus I may want to jerry-rig up some lights like this before I actually get my power hooked up, so that I can actually have some light in the house if it takes them longer than desirable. Oh, and these things here, these little, I forget what they're called here. Let's see. I'm going to get a bunch of these for the box. They don't come with it. At least they didn't come with mine. I don't know what they call these things. Grommet. Let's say knockouts. If it's 1/2-inch knockout. So I think it says 3/8 clamp type. Yeah, clamp type connector. Let's see, 3/8 let's see. Yeah, 3/8 trade size, 1/2 inch knockout. So basically that's the smallest. If you can see that really. The smallest of these knockouts is 1/2 inch. I think that's what most of them probably are. All the way up is 1/2 inch. So these will fit right in there. So yeah, let me, I should already did a bunch here, but I'll show you one of those and I'll show you the wires as I pull them through. So yeah, these just knock out with a simple screwdriver and hammer. Just come from, I think this one works better from this side. Come from here and take a hammer. Just get that kind of started. If you can see it, kind of popped out a little bit. Screwdriver under there, and pliers. Grab a hold of that. Just kind of wiggle it a little bit back and forth. Pops right out. And these little things here is kind of like almost like a bolt and a nut, I guess. Unscrew that little piece there. Let me get some better light here. All right, a little better light here maybe. So you got your little nut. And this piece that sticks through from the other side over here. Just stick that through. I like to keep it this way so I can eventually need to take a screwdriver and tighten this in. This just tightens around the wire. Keep it in place. Keep it tight so in case someone pulls on this by mistake, it doesn't pull all your wires out and mess up your electricity here. So put that through that side. And then just kind of screw this nut on from this side. Take a little bit of tweaking to get it to the right place. Sometimes what you can do is, it's got these little notches on here. You can actually take that and either hammer them or push them like that or pull them. Help tighten it up. So you got that there. I've already done it on these couple here, but basically you just screw down those little screws. It'll tighten the wire up against that metal clamp and stop it from moving. So that's that. All right, we got one here. Again, by the way, all the way through this, you make sure you're labeling things good. As you can probably see up here, I got all my labels. Tells me exactly which circuits are which. I've labeled them on the wire for easy identification, but also on the breakers, so you can see and you have no confusion as far as what's what. So I've already done that for these two wires here. This is my yoga room, spider room wire. And this is my, I got it marked on here too. What is that? Second floor bath outlets. So we'll start with this yoga room wire. Take a razor blade, slice the first couple inches there. I have to go right in the middle. Doesn't matter. This is all extra. We're gonna have plenty extra here, but right in the middle will prevent, cutting the actual black and the white wire. It'll just maybe score the copper ground wire, which isn't a big deal. You don't want to nick these the black and the white ones if you can help it. If you do, you should tape it or make sure you fix it. You don't want to leave that exposed. So here I basically step out, pull it as tight as I can. Let's see. Come back here like this, and I'll grab a hold of the plastic. And almost pull in both directions. Pull on this one and pull on this one, and it pulls up there real nice. Get that all the way up. I'll leave a little bit maybe. Leave an inch or 1/2 inch or something. Maybe cut that right off. As close as you can. You gotta be very careful not to cut the black and the white wires. And we'll just kind of peel back all this paper. Get that all off of there. It's just, I don't know, insulation or shielding or something. Don't need it at this point. Peel that all back. Somewhere around, I think, one of the wire, the black wire, as well as the ground. Peel that all off. Move that away, cut that back. Okay. And then I'll start with like a copper wire. And the copper wire, again, going to go to the ground bus bar. So I'll kind of tuck that down into the corner best I can, just trying to keep it as neat as possible so you don't have a mess in there. Kind of figure out where my next one is. Put my finger there and I'll try to bend it at a 90-degree angle right past where it's going to go. And I'll hold it tight and clip it off kind of like right level with the end. Because I kind of want it, again, I'm not entirely sure what the code is or what other people do, but this is kind of how I do it. Is to just make sure you got a little bit sticking out there on the other side, just so you can see that it's clearly through all the way. And if it's stuck inside there somewhere, you don't really know how far it is, so I like to be able to see it. And so that's a little long. It's probably fine, but being a little picky, just kind of keep them all the same. I'll just trim off a tiny bit. And stick it back in there. Okay, grab your Phillips head or your flat head, whichever. I think it'll take either. Most of these things, you gotta hold it in place while you screw it down. And get it nice and tight. Wouldn't overdo it, but make sure it's nice and snug anyway. Give it a little tug test if you want, make sure it's not going anywhere. And then we'll do the white wire. And I'll feed that up through. Same thing, gonna tuck it right up in the corner on the back, wherever you can. And again, I'm just making this up as I go, but trying to keep it nice and neat and organized the whole way. Just gonna go to figure out which one it's gonna go to. Gonna put your finger there to help bend it. 90 degree, right over there. Hold it in place. Either mark it with a pencil or something, or just kind of eyeball it and mark. I usually kind of put my finger right where I want to cut it and cut it close to my finger. I haven't cut my finger yet, but I'm sure that's next. And I'll cut it a little long. You can always adjust it. You can't make it longer, but you can make it shorter. Cut a little bit off there, maybe. Yeah, I think that'll be perfect again. Just want to stick it out just past the place where it goes, the hole it goes into. And then this one you got to strip, of course. So we'll strip. It's probably a better way to do this. I'm not entirely sure how to get it accurate. I've been just kind of eyeballing it. Oh, by the way, get yourself a good pair of these wire strippers. These ones are pretty good. It's got the cutters, it's got the pliers, it's got the stripping gauges. I think these are for bending the wire. I'm not entirely sure myself, but yeah, maybe a ½ inch. Just kind of eyeball. Oh, I was gonna say, make sure you use the right wire stripper. So these yellow wires, everything in the yellow, again, remember, is a 12 gauge. Everything in the white is a 14 gauge. If you're not sure, it should say right on there. The wire itself should have some writing on there. But if you're not sure, maybe start with a bigger one. Start with a bigger gauge, like a 12 or even a 10. And if it doesn't do it, kind of move slowly down. But if you do it the other way, you start small, you're going to ruin the wire and have an issue. So make sure you either use the right one or start a little on the thicker side, work your way down. But I know this is 12, so that's my 12 spot right there, the second one up. And so I'm going to put it through, I don't know, about a ½ inch. I'm kind of just eyeballing this. Twist it a few times, squeeze it, twist it, and then kind of, I like to rock it back and forth and or pull it, however you got to get it out of there. And let's see if that's the right, if that's how I want it or not. Let's see. Really, this lighting sucks. But you can kind of see it. I don't know if you can see it from the camera real well, but I can see a little bit of the copper there and a little bit of the copper on that side. So on the left side and the right side, I can see a tiny bit. Excuse me. Again, that's my rule of thumb. I'm not sure what code says specifically, or if there's other people have their own tricks and tips, but that's how I like to do it. So I know for sure that it's going all the way through. So I can see a tiny bit of that copper wire on both sides. You don't want too little, because you don't want to screw this screw down on top of the insulation, top of that white, sheathing insulation stuff. So you want to make sure you're hitting metal instead of plastic insulation. And also you don't want to stick it out too far on the other side because it could contact something else and cause a short or safety hazard, things like that. So here we got that, a little tug test. I just have to clean it up, make sure it's nice and straight, looking good. Beautiful. Okay, so that's your white wire. And your black wire goes to your circuit breaker. And so I don't know if you can really see in there, but there are a couple of screws. And I apologize, the lighting's horrible, but so you got, let's see, 1 screw and 2 screws. That's for the, you get getting 2 different breakers on this little mini. So it's both are 20 amps. So the top one's 20 amps and the bottom one's 20 amps, and they work independently of each other. It's like just a way to get multiple or more breakers in the same panel. So those 2 will take up 1 slot, so you can kind of double. It's a good way to get more breakers in there. And so for this one, I'm just going to use the top slot. And so the black wires, again, this is just my own preference, but I'm kind of trying to figure out how to get the straightest path over, so I'm just kind of going maybe out that way. Go out to the middle of the depth of the box, do a 90-degree turn, and then kind of figure out again what the length is. Use my thumb as a measurement. Cut it right at the end of my thumb. Double check it. Looks like it's gonna be good. Strip it. Again, that same, I think it's the same 1/2 inch or so. Kind of like that. We'll twist, we'll turn, we'll pull, and we'll stick that in there. Make sure you got it in the right place. There's a little hole in the back of this breaker where it goes into. That screw, I think, is out, but sometimes, usually it's out. This one appears not to be, so I'm going to back it off a little bit so we can get in there, because I don't think it's going on. What's going on? Get in there. There it is. Make sure it's in all the way. Same concept. I like to, this one you can probably push right up all the way. Make sure you can see a tiny bit of that metal of the actual wire, not the insulation, so you know you're not screwing down on top of the insulation. Yeah, you can see. Well, you can see that, but you can just barely see. Look up to the 16th or about a 16th of an inch copper. And yeah, and that's that. So that circuit is now wired. It's labeled both places. It's good to go. I got these all off just for, for the heck of it. It doesn't matter much yet because no power's here, but they're all off. When we do hook up power, we'll turn them on and test them out at some point, but we're a couple days or maybe a week away from that. So yeah, that is how you wire up a circuit to your panel. And again, eventually I'll do the other part where I'm actually connecting these 2 ground bus bars together as well as outside, and then bringing the power in to the top here. But that's how we're doing all these. I'm just going to go through and do, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more to do here, and then a couple more over there, and then a couple more to actually run upstairs, the bigger ones. Okay, so once your panel's all done, your rough wiring's done, and the next step would be to do like insulation, shiplap or sheetrock, all that kind of finished work, and then you can start putting in your outlets. I'm in the basement now. I'm not going to have much finished work down here, so I'm actually just kind of showing you guys for the sake of showing you. But once all that other stuff is done, it's time to do your actual switches and lights and outlets. And so I'll show you how to do one of those real quick. And first a note, make sure you get the right outlets. There are some 15 amp outlets and there are 20 amp outlets. So match up your breaker, your wire, and your outlet. All should be kind of the same amperage. And so these are, I think it says on here somewhere 20 amp. Yeah, and right at the top there it says 20 amp. So because I got the yellow wire, that's good for 20 amp. And I got the breaker back at the panel is 20 amp. All the outlets should be 20 amp as well. So what I would call the left side is the white. I call the right side is the gold. And so gold is black. And I don't know if it matters on the interior outlets, which one's which. I don't think it does, but on the GFCI, your line is coming from, that's where your power is coming in. Your load will be off to the next daisy chain. Let's just watch that. Doesn't say that on this, so I don't think it matters. And of course you got your green ground. So what we're gonna do is, I think I'm gonna treat it the same as a GFCI. I think the line is on the bottom. Bottom ones will be the power coming in, and top can be power going out. So same as everything else, we're gonna start with identifying which is which and stripping our wires. So you can see I already labeled these. That's my out. And this is my power coming in. And so we'll just label these on the outs, because once I strip them sometimes I get confused, so it's probably better to label it on the outs or somewhere else as you're keeping track of this. So that's out. This one is in. Just keep my in. And when you put these wires in, sometimes it's good to just kind of keep track. I usually put my in coming on the very first closest one to the stud. Out is on the outside, just to kind of keep them a little better understood. But other than that, it gets a little crowded in here sometimes too. So I try to cut my wires a little shorter and not to mess with long cords in there after the fact. So I may cut them. That's about 2 inches. I think that'll work. I'll cut them all about. Try to cut them the same. If they're a little different in length, I'll try to get them similar to the same, because you're gonna be putting wire nuts on these things. And then get your razor out. This one is a little more important because you don't have a lot of extra, so I'll have to start real low. Again, stay in the middle best you can so you're not hitting the black and the white wire. Strip these out best you get that plastic out of there, that paper out of there, same as before. Try to get it as far back as you can. See in there. I'm trying to reach back and cut back as far as I can. Same with the in. Again, no power coming into these yet, so nothing to worry about there yet. If you're doing if you're in an existing house, obviously you want to turn off power to the breaker before you're doing any of this kind of stuff. Sometimes if I grab a hold of that plastic, it helps you get a little better grip. You can push a little further back. Cut it back as far as you can. Helps you from pushing these wires in later on. It's kind of a pain sometimes. Alright, strip all our wires. Get comfy, be here a second. These, there is something on the back here I noticed, a strip gauge. It actually tells you how much to cut. I think, let's try that and see if that actually works. Get one, and then I'll probably just eyeball it from there. But okay, so similar to your light switch, we're gonna have to do a pigtail to the ground. So let me get a little piece of wire for that. As you're doing all this, you have plenty of extra wire, I think. But if you don't, just take another piece of 3-part wire and cut it, and then strip out this copper, the ground piece. But I think you probably only need 4 or 5 inches or something. Kind of like that. Cut yourself off a piece. Get yourself some good wire nuts. Right on the wire nuts, to tell you how many wires it's good for. I forget exactly what these are for, but I've been using these red ones. I think they hold. I've been doing 2 and 3 and 4 sometimes of these 12 gauge wires. Seems to be working pretty good. So basically, let's do our ground first. And if you can, try to organize these wires a little bit so they're not all crisscrossed and crazy. Easier said than done sometimes, because it does get a little nutty in there, but the more you can keep them organized, the better. You bring the blacks to one side, or maybe keep it organized based on the outlet. So you know your whites are going to be on the right, gold is on the left. So keep our whites over here maybe. Black's over here. And gold is on the top. So that works out. So we'll take those two grounds along with this little pigtail. Try to line them all up. The ends are all at the same height, the same length, I should say. Best you can. A little tricky sometimes. Those all about the same. That wire nut right on there. Turn the heck out of it. I like to do it until you start seeing the wires turn on themselves. Start to kind of curl up a bit, a few times, 2 or 3 times maybe. Like that. And we know they're all really tightly together. Tug test, make sure you're good. Hopefully that's long enough. Looks kind of short. If I can get that or not. Yeah, I think I should be able to. Alright. I'm going to put a hook bend in this copper one. However you want to do it. I think you can use this hook hole here, but I like to just do it that way. And make sure it's going the right way. That's important. Which way? This is up and it's down, so make sure it's up. Oh crap. Copper's actually on the bottom. And make sure it's facing the right way. Let's see. So you want to think about it. Turning this thing righty-tighty. It's got to be going the same way as your turn, so that when you tighten it, it tightens around the screw. So it's got to be like that, coming around from the right side and the ends on the left. That way when you tighten this, it actually will, it kind of goes the same. It curls that in there, tightens it. If you go the other way, it'll not be a very good connection. So make sure it's in there good. It should be underneath your green wire, nice and tight. Flip that around, it's on the bottom. Alright, so we said white. Do it backwards. Oh, my eyes are not so good. I think that's white. That's gold. White on the left. I might have said that backwards. Black on the right. Alright, so then you got these little holes in the back. I don't think I recommend them, but I like using them. I haven't had an issue with them yet. Actually, this one's a little different, a little better, because it has the screw actually screws down on top of them. So this may have to do it that way, looks like. So again, I would do power coming in on the bottom. Just, I don't think it matters on these, but it's a good habit to get into, I think. That's how I understand it. GFCI, just make sure you're looking at it specifically. But so black, I'm going to go coming in, which is on this side. I'm going to go on the bottom. Just going to stick that right in one of those. There's 2 of them. Just going to pick one right in the bottom hole, I think. Keep it far away from the other one. And push it right in there again, just below the insulator. I'll leave a little bit of metal showing. I wouldn't go all the way just because you don't want to clamp down on the insulation. It's not going anywhere. The power out is coming to the other gold on top. Stick that in there. Get it to the right depth. Why does this thing suck so bad? There. I have to loosen these nuts and this screw sometimes. Okay, there it goes. Tighten that up. Nice and tight. Tug test. Okay. And same with the whites. Over here. Power coming in. Go to the bottom. Whatever you do, just make sure it's the same. So if your wires coming in, make sure they're both either on the top or the bottom. You don't want to cross those up. I don't think it'll work then. So I get my power coming in. There's this one.
Those are going to go on the bottom, white and black. So I'll put that right in there. Make sure it's in all the way. Push it in. It takes 3 hands sometimes. Tighten that up good. And then power going out. Same thing, coming out of the top. All the way. Tighten that screw up. Okay. Make sure, oh, that one didn't seem very good, did it? Good thing I double checked that probably, huh? Loosen that back up, put that in. Alright, real good, real tight. Okay, that one. Ground screw. Okay. All wired up. Should work now, but we gotta get it in there and get it screwed in. So we'll just, this is the kind of the tricky part that I'm not great at, but kind of figure out your best way to tuck those wires back in there best you can with your pliers or screwdriver or something. These wires don't bend real easy. Sometimes I'll put one going one way. You put the black ones kind of coming up, white one's going down or something, but I'll push these back as far as you can. Sometimes just push it. I guess I'm gonna go close. Then you can come back and actually screw it in. Again, normally this is done after the fact, so you'll have sheetrock or something. This can push up against. For me right now, I'm just gonna do it this way. Not too tight, but try to keep it centered best you can. Put your plate on, and good to go. So that is wiring in a nutshell. It is dangerous, so respect it. Make sure you know when power's on, when it's not. You know, electricity has to make a circuit, so really the dangerous part is if you get, you know, both black and the white wire and you're touching both, you know, one hand on the white wire, one hand on the black, or if they touch each other, that's when there's an issue. Not that I recommend touching just one wire, but generally that's when there's a big issue. And so just, I mean, just respect it, be aware of it. It's most likely, a lot of the stuff isn't going to kill you, give you a little zap. It's not, you know, deadly for the most part. It can be though, so just be aware of it, respect it, and keep it off. Get the power off as much as you can, and don't touch the wires when the power's on. But it's not that, you know, it's not hard. It's a little bit complicated, some of this stuff, as far as, you know, they'll getting the loads proper and getting all these, you know, calculations done, which honestly I don't fully understand myself and I haven't done well, but I don't think you really need to get a functioning system. You know, it may not be as effective or as pretty or as perfect as electricians will want you to have it, but, you know, to save $5, $10, $15, $20,000, you know, it's well worth putting a couple of hours, a couple of days into it and doing it yourself. It's something that I think anybody can do. I've done outlets myself for a long time, and switches and lights and things like that. I recently started doing some rough wiring, but I never done the panel till this time. This is my first actual panel. And it's not real complicated, guys. I mean, it is a little bit in some sense, but you got to just do a little bit of research, think about it, and get a little bit of help. Ask a friend, you know, things like that. And, you know, anybody can do this stuff. So I hope this encourages you guys to try it on your own, to build your own house, to do your own wiring. I'll be doing my own plumbing as well, even our own septic. So, I mean, it all can be done. It just takes a little bit of time, a little bit of effort. Good luck, guys. Take care.